Now moving on to Oman's largest energy company is Saud Zakwani, Head of Data Science at Petroleum Development Oman, PDO, who will be speaking on the vision for safety, application of machine learning for health, safety, and environment. Also, big congratulations for the awards that you won yesterday, Mr. Zakwani, on behalf of PDO.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So as introduced, my name is Saud Zakwani. I hold a position called under Head of Data Science, working on the Digital Center of Excellence in PDO. And today I would be presenting a vision for safety, how we use machine learning to undermine and hopefully eliminate challenges, keeping our industry safe. So I'm glad to see some university students, so I'm going to do my level best not to use as many acronyms or the fourth industrial revolution's hyped terminology, and try to keep it as basic and as probably we can understand as possible. So HSC, it's one of the acronyms which we use in the industry, which stands for Health, Safety, and Environment. And in basic terms, it's an actual study of how we look at activities, tasks, and understand the means of performing them with a priority of health, safety, and environment. A lot of times tasks can be performed on the optimum if you do not consider or you undermine the HSC elements to it. In our industry, and specifically in PDO, first comes HSC, then we look at other productivities. This presentation will take you through how we're using digital technologies. I'll give you a couple of examples where we've proven concepts, and we've taken some of these examples to a valuable arena where we're reaping value out of the digital enablement and so on. So next slide. A process on HSC or safety by itself is it's how we understand a specific scenario of any tasks. So a task could be as simple as stepping up the podium and looking at all of the scenarios. You tend to understand exactly what kind of scenarios would be harmful, targeting either health, safety, or the actual environment. You ring-fence those scenarios, you tag mark them from a roll of dice. So we have 6 scenarios. On any time you roll a dice, if we say 5 and 6 are challenging environments, then we ring-fence 5 and 6. After ring-fencing them, you also come up with a consequence. So if 5 and 6 happens, what do we take actions for? A very good example for all of us is road safety. Most of us have driving licenses, we use cars, and one of the arenas that we're actually undermining accidents is the radars, which we see commonly across our roads nowadays. Now, you drive more than 120, you get fined. That's the consequence. 120 is your 5 and 6. But if you look at it, yes, we are undermining car accidents, but we are not eliminating them. So the scenario itself is not as basic as a roll of dice. Our world is very complex. A scenario for road safety could be something that we are aware of, but we cannot digitize, or we cannot use digital technologies to be able to capture and eliminate. If you look at car condition, it's one of the scenario that could lead to an accident. If you look at the driver's condition, how many hours he's been driving, does he have a driving license? Which kind of driving license does he have? And all of these are actual features that could be utilized to undermine car accidents today. And that's exactly the same concept we use in oil and gas industry. And I will take you through, if we jump to another slide, I'll take you through the oil and gas industry evolution. So a very familiar evolution is the petrol pump. What we see nowadays is the digital version. What concept that applies in oil and gas is you do not evolve because it's efficient only, no. Traveling from London to New York It's quite a lengthy airline flight. And there were previously, historically, planes that could do it in a shorter period of time. But then the safety challenge comes in. So those planes are not commercially viable anymore. In safety, in oil and gas is exactly the same. Safety comes first. If we evolve because of safety. If any of the petrol pumps innovation comes with safety first concept, that's exactly what we start listening. Then we look at the productivity, how fast can it pump, and the experience, can it be autopiloted, and all of these questions. Next slide. Yeah. Now we jump to the machine learning models that we actually develop and how we use them to eliminate safety challenges. The first one, which is very familiar to myself because this was internally developed by a group of data scientists. Alhamdulillah, today we hold a group, we're all Omanis, 100% Omanized in the Department of Data Science. And we were tasked to try to look at a problem and see if we can use digital to address it. The problem itself is on oil leak. We have a vast pipeline covering multiple concession areas that we hold in PDO. We're talking about thousands of kilometers at any given point. The manual approach is you have an operation team who drive across the pipeline, try to figure out if there's any patches of oil, and if they see patches of oil, they stop. This is a challenge. They look at it, they call the maintenance team, and you resolve that. But you only have 24 hours. And if you use 24 hours, you're not even covering any percentage of the vast operation itself. How we use digital is, the next slide. How we use digital is we eliminate the whole expectation that we actually need people to drive across the pipeline. In other words, an analogy is, if we are here today, the probability of any one of us to get a car accident is close to impossible because none of us currently is actually driving, and is exactly the same concept. If we do not require the operation team to drive to look at these patches, then we do not have safety challenges. What we currently use is we fly our fixed wing drones, which takes hours, takes pictures of each and every pipeline. And the minute it comes back, we have terabytes of data where instead of a person going and looking at each picture, which is really boring, we have an AI model which classifies oil leak with an accuracy which is business justified. The AI model will process the images, and within the same day, you actually find, in this case, you can see a red dot in an area, the oil leaks which are happening and where they're happening. What we found value also on this was not only the oil leaks themselves, but the frequency of how many times we actually fly these fixed wing drones would tell us which oil leak is more priority to be fixed than the others. So based on the previous images and the current images, we know exactly how much oil we are actually losing. And we usually don't, we cover it all, but at the end of the day, you have to also prioritize on what you fix. Next slide. Yep, video analytics. So that's oil leak, and oil leak is just one use case. We're also looking at corrosion, sand encroachment, all of the areas that can actually affect a pipeline, and we're evolving with these use cases. When you come to video analytics, it's another project which we're quite familiar with, and the idea is to be able to utilize the surveillance infrastructure that we hold and use it for our safety learnings. Safety has evolved from a long time ago where people, I was not born back then, but I would assume people would actually look at someone doing something and it's harmful, and then they would learn. We evolved to storytelling where we would say, you know what, if you do X, you're gonna get hurt or something. Then we evolved till date, we have actual applications. You just take a picture, it's an incident, it's an observant. And nowadays we're using machine learning to actually capture a lot of these incidents using video analytics. With video analytics, it was a really good journey because we used the ICV arm, which we're passionate about in PDO. We were required to actually label terabytes of videos. This was our training data. We looked outside, we found fresh graduates who are under chemistry, biology disciplines, and regardless of those disciplines, we took them in as a project team, taught them within 2 weeks on how they can annotate, and they covered close to 3 million frames of videos in 3 months. It's a task, tedious, but the value that we're actually getting at the end is quite remarkable. With that, we train a model to classify if there is fire, if people are actually not wearing PPE. PPE means a helmet or gloves and safety glasses, boots, coverall. And also we managed to be able to ring fence areas where we do not want people to be in. So the rig is a very challenging environment, and especially when the rig is in motion, there are areas where we do not allow anyone to be at. With video analytics, we capture these behaviors to teach us to be able to raise awareness within our own employees and contractors. Now, safety is a quite interesting domain because it's one of those domains that it does not wait for you to gain experience so that an accident can happen. Usually when you lack awareness, that's where you actually get most of your accidents. Next slide. Yeah. I believe this is the last one, and it's not the last use case. We have multiple, chose 3 for this session. Terrain classification is under exploration function, and traditionally we used scouts where people would actually go towards these very difficult terrains, and they will look at around them to be able to understand if the trucks could reach that specific area. Exploration trucks are quite amazing trucks. If you've seen Elon Musk's truck, well, these are much cooler than those. They actually hit the ground, and based on the vibration, they mark different formations underground. And these trucks, once you actually send them at a place, they're quite expensive, and it's if they cannot reach that place, then you're losing a lot of days and cost unnecessarily. Now, replacing scouts is, we already have satellite imagery, and we have satellite imagery within a couple of centimeters in precision. In terrain classification, what we would do is, we already had training data. We trained models to classify sand dunes, mountainous areas, vegetation, facilities, pipeline, roads, and not only roads, we'd actually classify bitumen road, the black road that we actually use in the highway, or the gravel road, which is when you trained, it becomes challenging. And all of these are quite informative elements and insightful for the exploration team to be able to take good decisions. We have covered good concessions areas. We're currently working in one of the concessions, which the team informed me while I was here that they have covered. I'm quite excited and looking forward to cover hopefully the entire Oman. And I think that's, yes, that's it. And thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Saud. Very informative. Are there any questions that any of the audience would like to ask Mr. Saud?
Okay, thank you very much for a very good presentation. We have students from Majan University College. So we would like to know whether you can make the images that you have captured in public, at least to be accessible by the academic institution, so the students can work on them as part of the research or a project.
Yes, I would like to, we'll look into that. Yes, we have association on a number of universities, and we'll definitely look into Majan also, how we can capitalize on the opportunity. They are our future, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I sneak peeked one of the question, which is just ringing in my ear, and I have to address it. The question asked, how do we measure the effectiveness of our machine learning models? And it's quite interesting because the natural answer is you jump into your confusion matrix, how many truths you get, how many false you get, and you portray a percentage. And that's the technical adoption that we use. But what justifies business is business. So when we present these machine learning models, the business looks at it and how effective they are based on how we minimize costs or replace a lot of these activities. So the driving is a very common requirement. So if we do not require driving, that's value for the business. But confusion matrix will not address that.
Thank you, Saud, for the wonderful presentation. And yes, this morning we spoke about universities working close with large corporates to get these students on board to what is happening in real life. Also, if all of you can put your hands together for Saud, because his organization, Petroleum Development Oman, won 4 awards yesterday for the Big Data Awards. And a lot of hard work goes behind it. Saud was in Adipek, Abu Dhabi, but he didn't sleep a few nights, I think, to prepare for it. Thank you, Saud, and for being the jury member as well. There is one question to Saud. This is from, no, this is for question to Hafiz. I think the earlier question was for Saud, yeah. Question to Mr. Saud. Did you measure the effectiveness of the implemented machine learning model-based approach practically? For example, did you measure the number of oil leak incidents before and after applying the new approach?
So I did sneak peek on the question, and I did address it on the podium. We do not only look at the numbers, but we also look at how much coverage of that oil leak can we classify. So that tells us how big the oil leak is happening. So it needs immediate action, or we do have a couple of hours, we take other priorities.
Thank you, Saud.